Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host Rob, and this is the Age of Sigmar Stat Center, where every Monday, along with the Twitch chat, I go through all of the event results that happen at the weekend. We look at the lists, we look at all the 5-0s and 4-1s from 2-day, 5 or 6 round events, and one of them is this weekend, which is really fun. And we look at kind of like the trends, and we talk about what might be happening in competitive Age of Sigmar. Don't forget, whenever we do these results, they're always kind of based on what's also happening in the production matter. For instance, we're going to be talking a lot about OBR. OBR is a really easy army to build and put on the tabletop. You don't have to run lots of models, and you can paint up lots of the units the same, which is quite cool. Some armies are much harder to produce and put on the tabletop, so their effect kind of is staggered, but I do mention that kind of at the end of the show. This weekend, we had 369 players playing across 5 countries, and in fact, actually, that number's even higher. It's actually 400 players, because we also added an event on in New Zealand, so it's 400 players in 6 countries this weekend, which is really, really great. I just want to take a moment to shout out Eric Urbaz, who's not feeling very well at the moment over in the USA. He's one of the people in the Age of Sigmar community who's just had a health issue at the moment, and he's battling his way to better health in the future. I want to shout out him and his family, and I just want to tell them that they're all wonderful people, and I hope everything goes really well. So they got my love and support. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Anyway, let's go look at all of the lists, and I hope everyone is going to have a good time. The first event we're going to look at is the Nashcon Age of Sigmar GT. Now, I want to shout out before anyone else, both organisers, Anthony and David Griffin, for running this event. Now, Anthony creates all of the terrain for this venue, and it has to be, in my opinion, one of the best looking Age of Sigmar events that happens year in, year out. It happens in Nashville, in Tennessee. Dave Griffin as well institutionalized this 2-list format several years ago, and they've run with that every year since, and the event has grown from strength to strength, supported by people like the Rage of Sigmar podcast. Like, people have known more and more about it. It's got loads of international travelers now, and it's just an absolutely brilliant event. I've been myself, and it's just great. Now, I'm not going to go into detail talking about the list specifically, and they're all available on BCP for this one event, because this event has a 2-list format. That just means I would have to read through twice as many lists to try and identify all the different details and variants. I don't know how many times they played list 1, how many times they played list 2. I don't know any of that information, and so I'm just going to shout out the players and stuff. But the 2-list format is really interesting. I really like the idea of a 2-list format. How does it work? So you have 2 lists. You have to play both of those lists over the course of the weekend. And what you can do is you just put your list in secret versus your other person's list, and you play. Some people really like this idea. Some people don't like this idea. Some people think this might be unfair. The important point to note is this event is going from strength to strength every year, with everyone who attends the event creating these incredible pieces of art. There's so many great display boards and other stuff, and while I'm not normally pro that stuff, it looks fantastic. There's loads of pictures that have been posted online, and it looks really cool. What I mean by not pro it, I'm not pro it as like a necessary feature, like I have to have a display board in order to play, but it did look really great. And also there was loads of really famous kind of like high-end competitive players at the event as well, so it wasn't just a bunch of like narrative players getting along. It was a bunch of like, you know, just great Warhammer. In my personal opinion, it's kind of what Adepticon would like to be, but just doesn't have the leadership to be it. And he's just really cool. So shout out to the organisers specifically. When we talk about the players, we've got some great dudes. I'm just going to go through it. You've got Fabian Barbouz. All these lists are available for you to go read at your heart's desire. Fabian Barbouz from the King Cheese Wargaming with his Blades of Corn went 5-0. Tom Guan with all of his zombies went 5-0 with Soulblight Gravelords. And then Jason Matley with Maggotkin and Nurgle. And it's great to hear Nurgle doing well. Everyone seems to think Nurgle's not doing that well at the minute. I think Nurgle's in a really good place. I don't think it's in like a broken place, but I think it's in, you know, can go well at events. And Jason Matley has proven that here. Then we've got loads of 4-1s, some of them crazy famous and super sexy. Anthony Trentinelli with Fresh Eater Courts, Frederick Smith with his Sylvaneth, Barton Kenley with Blades of Corn, Michael Schlegelmilch with his Stormcast Eternals, Thomas Guerra with his OCR Bone Reapers, Josh Bennett with his Pretenders Host Slanesh, Brad College with his Bone Splitters, which shout out to him. Bone Splitters even making it into the stats is amazing. Great work to Brad College. Ryan Brine with, is that Brad? With his, yes, Brad with his call-out video, hit up. He won his grudge match, and then he only lost one match with a 4-1, amazing. Rick Myhill with his 4-1, travelled over from England. Kevin Lathers 4-1 with his Fire Slayers, Michael Caldwell with his OCR Bone Reapers, Jacob Berry with a big dump truck ass and a cute little face hit 4-1 with his Skaven, which had an amazing display board. Vince Ventrella from Warhammer Weekly and the Slapchop infomercials hit it with the 4-1 with his Sons of Behemoth, Breaker Tribe. Then Bradley Garrison with his Lumineth Realm Lords got a 4-1, and then Noah Singh with his 60 Fanatics and Gloomspite Gits hit the 4-1. Dr. Mackenzie Ewing with his Sylvaneth hit the 4-1. Mike Maccabee, one of my favourite people to take a road trip with, on Nighthorn, Scarlet Doom, 4-1 as well. So a nice little mix, loads of different armies. Again, metas are very different in team events, 2-list format, but a 2-list format is super cool. I'd love to know what you all think about it, and if you're going to have them at your events, or if you would go to an event like that. Our next event takes place at Goldcon, in Australia, and is called Goldcon 2023, and it takes place here at the Hinterland Hotel, right next to Dan Murphy's lowest price guaranteed booze, which is great. But most importantly, it's located on the east coast of Australia, on the Gold Coast, right next to some beautiful beaches and some wonderful places to party. So shout out to all the boys there. I hope they had fun. There was 62 people playing, obviously ladies and MBs as well, playing at the event. There's 62 people playing at this event. We've got 2 5-0s. We've got Timothy McDivitt and Brad Von Derren. Okay, so Timothy McDivitt was playing Karajan Overlords in Barak Zon. He had an Edger Master with Dirigible Suit, an Archanaut Admiral, and an Aether Navigator. He had 2 units of 600 riggers. And then he had 3 lots of 10 Archanaut Company, and he had 2 Archanaut frigates in this list as well, which is very, very, very cool. So this is actually something we're going to see a lot, in my personal opinion. In the future, we're going to see more combat KO. In fact, actually, when I reviewed the book, it's the thing I said that you would end up seeing the most play. I think we've had some production meta time where we've needed more frigates needing to hit the tabletops, and those engine riggers being so useful, obviously, for also healing up those boats as they do a ton of mortal wounds, as they move over stuff. They give always strikes first to a bunch of different units. So just very, very good. Very cool. Shout out to Tough and Terror in the chat. Thanks for resubscribing. Then Brad Von Doren with his Gloomspite Gits list, a little bit of a play on what we would see as the classic Trog Smash list, but he's kind of mixed it up a little bit. So he's running Gloomspite Gits in Glog's Mega Mob. He's got Webspinner Shaman, a Madcap Shaman, Scragrot, and a Dankhold Trog Boss. And then he's got 4 units of 3 Rotgut Trog Boss. And this is why it's different. Normally we see 2 units of 6 instead of the minimum units of 3. That's especially because if one of those units die, you get to return 3 back from the Loon Shrine, but he hasn't done that. And instead has taken 4 units of 3, which I think is quite interesting, making it a multiple small unit army. And then he's got a unit of Fellwater Trogos, the Gobblepalooza, and then he has a reinforced unit, so 2 Dankhold Trogos in his list as well, which do loads and loads of damage, which is great. And he's got the Andorian Acolytes, Battle Regiment, and Troghold Heavies. Now, obviously, there's a ton of mortal wounds coming from this army at range as well as its melee profile, thanks to things like Blizzard and also Scragrot's shooting attack. So lots and lots of work there, which is cool. You also get a lot of victory points via battle tactics and grand strategies with this army. Again, that's something we really have to consider when we're talking about these armies. Same with the Karajan Overlords list as well. They get access to at least 2 just auto-include and auto-do battle tactics. Trogs with at least 2 as well. So, like, they're just getting 4 points, plus a grand strat, really, just for turning up. And then it really does mean that some of their early battle tactics aren't as aggressive, or they don't have to play as aggressively on some battle plans, which is also going to really define how the game plays in the future. So this GHB is going to be particularly interesting, especially because... I'll talk about that at the end. Anyway, congratulations to these 2 players. Let's look at the 4-1s. In the 4-1 bracket, we have Dave Kerr. Dave Kerr was running a frankly crazy Slaves to Darkness list, which is nicknamed The Meta. It's a Legion of the First Prince list, which I never see. Then he has a Chaos Sorcerer Lord, a Gaunt Summoner. He has an Exalted Hero of Chaos twice. And then he had Thedra Skullscryer. 2 lots of Untamed Beasts Battle Line, which are great for the pre-game move. And a unit of Cypher Lords. Then 6 Varangard Undivided as well, not even a Gaunt. And then he had the Kronspine Incarnate of Gur. Honestly, I don't even know what that list does. Dave's just a bit of a Warhammer genius. It just does a lot of... I don't know. I'm going to ring him, and then I'll find out from that point on. But it's cool. So that's all I've got to say about that. Geordie Flett. Now, don't forget, Geordie did so well at CanCon with his Beast of Chaos, and he's still pushing Beast of Chaos around. He got a Beast of Chaos Zangor, Shaman. He's got a Great Brave Shaman, a Doom Bull, and a Be'lakor. 6 Bulgor, some Ungor Raiders, and then 6 Enlightened on disc. The Beast of Chaos book at the minute, I got to say, feels like one of the kind of like most stable cookie cutter builds with the most random add-ons, which is really cool. You normally always see, you know, the Doom Bull, the Bulgor, the Brave Shamans, and the Ungor Raiders, and then you'll see something in the kind of like 500, 600 point region, which someone will bring to this list, which is slightly different. In this case, it's Enlightened on disc. In other cases, it might be Skyfires, it might be Giants, it might be Gorgons. It could be loads of different types of units, and so it's really, really fun to see these happen. So well done to Geordie as well, obviously. Patrick Carter with his Carriage and Overlords, mixing up a little bit. He's got an Archanaut Admiral, a Navigator, and a Chemist. He's got 2 lots of 3 Engine Riggers, but he's sticking with 15 Thunderers in an Ironclad for all of that shooting downtown, which is just an offensive turn 1 shooting. Don't forget, if shooting is a little bit too strong in your local meta, or you and your friend want to have some fun, you can play the Frigid Zephyr battle plan, and that'll really help you out. Then we got Luke McFadden running Soulblight Gravelords, one of 3 people in the 4-1 bracket here with Soulblight Gravelords. In this case, he had Manfred and a Vampire Lord on foot, and another Vampire Lord on foot, and Prince Vordry, and then some Felbats, and then 10 Graveguard and some Terrorgeist. The other Soulblight Gravelords list, Jared Wilson with Vrykross and a bunch of skeletons and zombies in his list, but still a big punch unit of Graveguard, some Vargeists in his list as well. But he's still got Torgillus, obviously, and Belladama for those 2 5-up ward bubbles. And then Brendan Chamberlain with the double Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. They're just so survivable, so hard to kill them, obviously, unless you just blizzard them off the board. Chase Price, Blades of Corn, shout out to him, well done to you. Running Slaughter Priest, Scarbrand, Slaughter Priest, Bloodmaster, and the Bloodthirster of Infected Fury with pretty much the build, the loadout that we talk about. Firebrand, Bloodthirster, Firebrand is the command trait, and then the artifact is the Argath King of Blades for the no ward aura. Some Blood Warriors, Claws of Karnak, Fleshhounds, and then a big brick of Mighty Skull Crushers. Not forgetting this army is pretty good as kind of like a pin army before you deliver Scarbrand to do all of the damage. And then, wow, Luke Taylor absolutely smashing it in the 4-1 bracket with his Nighthaunt Emerald Host. Guardian of Souls, Spirit Torment, Lord Executioner, Lady Alinda, right? Crazy that she's 310 points, but Lady Alinda's in there. And then Curtis Valentine, and then 30 Grimghast Reapers, 2 lots of 10 Chain Rafts, 3 Spirit Hosts, some Bladegeist Revenants. Now, there's some pretty good recursion in this list, but nowhere near as good as like the modern books. The modern books have a lot of recursion. In fact, it's a good argument that a lot of the games at the moment are taking longer to play, specifically because of there's so much recursion in the game. Because you're not just killing 2,000 points of your enemy's army. In fact, in some cases, you're killing like 2,500 points. You know, verging on nearly 3,000 points. And when it's not recursion, as in like units coming back, so as an example, Gits is a good example, Soulblight Gravelords is a good example, OBR are bringing back whole models into their army, or you're healing lots of models, or you're doing summoning, right? So there's just a lot of things kind of happening. So these games are taking longer. But this is great. But then it's quite interesting because Nighthaunt don't have that level of recursion because they're an older book. So Luke Taylor should be super chuffed hitting the 4-1. Anyway, shout out to everyone over in Australia. Just a great meta, a great group of people, and I hope they all had a wonderful time. So our next event was at Warhammer World. Warhammer World had 47 players playing at their event. Now, it's a 6-round event, and you won a golden ticket, I don't really know what that means, to Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. And so it was kind of, like a big deal. So kind of the fact they didn't sell out is kind of weird, but they didn't anyway. Also, it was meant to be 5 rounds, and then they announced that it was 6 rounds later on at some point, and then lots of people had to go home. So some people just went home after 5 rounds and didn't do the 6th round. So it's kind of like a shadow round, but not really. It's kind of like a whoever's left round, which is fun. Also, question for you, dear listener, watching on YouTube or listening as a podcast, please let me know, and chat, same question to you. Do you want 6-round events? I think people only want 5. I run a lot of events, and I am interested to know if people would like events to be turned into 6-round events. They get more Warhammer for their buck, as they say. I'd be interested to know what people are saying. So chat, you let me know. No to 6. 6 is too many. God, no. It was too long. These are some of the comments coming in at the chat. Hence why I chose to go home instead of 6. We got one person loving 6 rounds in the chat. Someone says 6 games, yes, but over 3 days. Wow. Okay, so there's a lot now. Okay, 7. Okay, there's a lot of insane stuff being talked in the chat now, so you let me know what you want. Anyway, our only 6-0, shout out to him, as Martin Feingold. Now, Games Workshop released a Meta Watch last week. It's one of their marketing articles. It's not based on any actual information that they know. It's just a marketing piece that they put out. But they released that, and hilariously, the author of the articles is quite clearly just making jokes for the well-informed reader. And they did say that Null Myraid was rarely seen in OCR Bone Reapers, which is just such a hilarious statement. But to see that Martin won the Warhammer World event, went 6-0 with an OCR Bone Reapers list that's crematoriums, does make him a bit of a genius for adding on to the memes of what we've been able to talk about this week. So shout out to him. He was running Catacross, Immortals and Bowshaper with the loadout, which is Dark Acolyte for an unbindable spell. Unbindable? Bindable. You can't stop the spell. And then he's got an Artifact of Power with his Artisan's Key for adding additional models into units. And then he's got Arcan the Black, Kavalos Death Riders, a unit of 10, which, as we discussed with Tristan earlier in the chat, if you were to put Mystic Shield on him and then do all-out defense and combine that with Catacross's +1 save aura, this does mean you've got 30 wounds that have a 3-up armor save, ignoring Rend 2, and they can have a 5-up ward save. 30 wounds. 3-up, ignoring Rend 2, 5-up ward save. Between the Bone Shaper, Catacross, and Arcan the Black, you could put 4 of those ponies back into that unit of 10 Kavalos Death Riders if you weren't putting models back into the unit of 6 Immortis Guard, which is pretty crazy, which is good. And then 5 Kavalos Death Riders, all in a battle reg for the 1-drop. So just a brilliant list, and he should be super chuffed with himself. Obviously, it's a list we see a lot, but we rarely see it in crematoriums. So well done to him. That's excellent. Okay, so let's look at the 4-1 bracket, and it gets a bit spicy in the 4-1s. Oh, sorry, 5-1s. 5-1 6-round event. James Lake. Now, James is great. Plays for the Outriders and running Soulblight Gravelords. He's been playing Soulblight Gravelords for absolutely ages. And he was running Vycross. He had Belladama with the Orphankana Phylactery for the 5-up War Bubble. But then he had a Necromancer and 2 Necromancers and a Vampire Lord. Then he had some zombies, a big brick of zombies, and then he had minimum direwolves, a corpse cart, but then he had 2 units of Graveguard buffed up, so 2 units of 20, which is quite good as well. So he really has just got that, like, one big punch unit, those 2 big punch units in his Graveguard, and hasn't brought anything else along to kind of, like, play in that area. And he's added Hoarfrost as well, so he's not like a third big threat, but he's got loads of board control between the direwolves and the zombies and the ward saves. He's got great primary control, and then when he needs to kill some stuff, he's got the Graveguard for it as well. So that's really fun. And James is also just a great player and has been getting loads of results over the past year. He's like one of those kind of like, he's at the same place people like, Phil Spriggers were last year, and Freddie, like a little bit before that. All those guys, like, another new generation of really great top table players, so shout out to him. Nicolas Tassoni's over from France. La France, bonjour. And apparently has won 4 different French events with this Lumineth Realm Lords list. Now, Lumineth Realm Lords not considered to be particularly good in this meta, and so going 5-1 is really excellent. And he was running Zytrek, Teclis. Now he's running the Light of Altharion, which we know has become so much more popular since Rune ran it at Worlds. Then we've got Sinari Cathalar and a Sinari Caligrave. Then he's got 10 Wardens and 1 unit of Blade Lords, and then 3 units of 5 Dawn Riders. The Rune of Petrification for some AoE mortal wounds, the Umbral Spell Portal, and the Malevolent Maelstrom. So, even though there's so many extra primal dice knocking around for unbinds and everything else, he's still running Teclis, still trying to put all those damage through the Spell Portal. Light of Altharion is out there fighting, and the Dawn Riders are out there doing a ton of different damage. He's also got Merciless Blizzard in his list as well. So super interesting to see that do so well over in England. Mike Stewart with maybe the boogeyman list at the moment, going 5-1. He was running Seraphon, he's running Starborn, and most importantly, it's a Croak Bomb, but you add on a Kronspine Incarnate, and then you make that Kronspine Incarnate be able to be ruptured immediately, so it becomes wild. Eat your own endless spells up to level 3, and then you have a Croak Bomb with a level 3 Incarnate, having a great time. Okay, so then we got Baz Norman Jr. Now, Baz has played all sorts of armies, most famous for DOK, also played Gits as well. Great result for him, hitting a 5-1 with his Beast Claw Raiders, which is super cool to see. He has a Frosthorn, Stonehorn, a Butcher, and then 3 units of 2 Mournfang pack, which you never see. So this is very uniquely Baz's list, but he is playing Underguts, which means he's brought 4 Iron Blasters, which I think is really clever. They're still pretty much as good. They did get that 30-point increase very early into the release of this book, but there's still a prodigious amount of shooting coming out of those Iron Blasters. They'll deal with monsters, and they'll deal with huge hordes of infantry as well. So that's really, really impressive. So well done to him. And it's nice to see that still see play. Brent Evans with his Kharadron Overlords, running a really fun list where he's just got the big Ironclad full of 15 Thunderers, and then he's put Gotrek in his list. Gotrek, really good. Like, is still just good. It's very hard to get rid of, and he's just going to control the mid-board. If you need someone in the Order army, or Gotrek is to Order what Be'lakor is to Chaos. Be'lakor is to Chaos, yeah. Be'lakor shuts a unit down, and Gotrek kills a unit. That's how it works. So, pretty fun. I'd love to see that happening. And then we have... exciting. So, order to Brent. And then we have... I've just got this in the chat, because he is in the chat, and I'm going to make sure I say this right. We've got Kushishtov Shiwavi. Absolutely smashed that. Well done to me. With his Blades of Khorne Reapers of Vengeance list. And this is just a kind of classic, at this point, Khorne list with the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster and... the Scarbrand, but he's also got the Boomthirster in here as well. The Bloodthirster. Oh wait, no, has he? No, he doesn't. No, that's Incense and Rage. He's just got two Bloodthirsters. Sorry, he's got Bloodthirster and Fetid Fury and the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster. And then he's still got Scarbrand, so he's still trying to just push Scarbrand around to do all the damage. He's got Bloodmaster, Slaughter Priest, and then the cute picks has to be this big unit of this little unit of Furies down here and the Blood Crushers. I think between the Blood Crushers and the Furies, he's got loads of opportunity to constantly steal objectives and pin units in using Murderlust, which I think is really fun as well. So excellent work on his part. That's everyone in the 5-1 bracket. Absolute huge shout out to everyone in there, especially Colin Cochrane and his son Ben. I hope they had a great time at the event. And yeah, well done to everyone. The next event is the Gateway Open 2023 being held in Collinsville, Illinois. Not a yard away from a Wahoo, which is great if you want to get yourself some 3am waffles. Now, it was, we had, how many players did we have? We had 46 players playing at this event. And then our 250s are Jake and McGrank. I'm hoping I've said that right. And I need to just going to message him and find out how to say it. And he's both running Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Null, Myraid. It's basically the same list as all the other ones I've read out. And also shout out to Alex Cotter in the 4-1, who also same list. So big thumbs there. And then let's move on from those. So congratulations to both those two for going 5-0. Amazing work. And the 4-1. Now into the 4-1 bracket, we've got LaRon Roberts with the Pretenders, host of Sinesh. And I was talking about this earlier in kind of the bit in between when I record on Twitch. And we were talking about Glutos or Scullion. So he's running Hedonites, Pretenders. You get extra CP. You can do more command abilities. It's super cool. He's got the Contorted Epitome. This is pretty much the cookie cutter loadout. Command trait, Strength of Godhood. Artifact to power the Crown of Dark Secrets. That's pretty much the cookie cutter loadout. Hoarfrost on him as well, which is really good. And then Lord of Pain, and then Glutos or Scullion. Really good. So tanky. Can heal so much and can just run through units, which is great. 3 units of Min Blissbarb Archers, and then 2 units of Slickblade Seekers, 2 units of 5, and then a unit of Blissbarb Seekers as well. So a classic shoot the screens, charge everything in, generate a load of depravity, which is cool as well, with Contorted Epitome doing all the work. So just absolutely lovely to see. And then our other 4-1, let's get a shout out if we can to Austin Temech for doing super good with his Cruel Boys Grinning Blades. Gobsprack, Swamp Caller Shaman, 2 of those. Killer Boss on Stabgrot, Snatcher Boss on Slugraker Beast, 2 lots of 20 Gut Rippers, some 10 Hogrot Slitters for a screen, and then 2 units of 6 Man-Skewer Bolt Boys for the Mortal Wounds. And this army will just do a ton of Mortal Wounds. You can't see it outside of 12 inches, so you have to get in range of it. And when you get in range of it, you're going to get countercharged by the Snatcher Boss or the Gut Rippers, and you're going to get shot to pieces by the Man-Skewer Bolt Boys. And he's going to take a ton of damage in the process, not including the fact that he's also going to be doing loads of Mortal Wounds via Blizzard, adding another bit of counterpunch to what is effectively an invisible castle, which is cool. Shout out to Austin. There's also one more 4-1 as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Daniel Patterson with his Slaves to Darkness, host of the Everchosen. He's got Be'lakor, Chaos Sorcerer Lord, Eternus, and then he had 10 Chaos Chosen, some Chaos Knights, and then 6 Varangard. So he's just gone for all of the damage. He's just going, shut a unit down, here's 10 Chosen, here's 10, here's 6 Varangard, we're going to slap the silly out of you, which is great. So amazing to see. Hope everyone at Gateway had a really great time. The event was organised, I should just point this out, by Jeff Nauman. I hope everyone had a wonderful time. Thanks very much. Our next event takes us over to sunny Scotland at the Tempest 2023 event. Tempest. That's what it was. Organised by Scott Smith. Shout out to him. And it took place, I'm pretty certain it took place at the Commonwealth, the Common Grounds venue, which is here. You can see that there. And we have a bunch of cool lists in here. So we have OCR Bone Reapers on the 5-0 by Josh Lowe. Congratulations to him. You know what's in the list. And then Alistair Maxwell, also with his OCR Bone Reaper list in Null Myriad, in the 4-1. You know what's in the list. Then we have JJ, one of my good friends, with his Soulblight Gravelords, with his Legion of Night. And he has got Vampire Lord, Manfred, Necromancers, 2 of them, loads of zombies, some Direwolves, and again, those punchy Graveguard, which is nice to see. Absolutely fun. Then you've got Alistair Robertson with his Kharadron Overlords, Barrack Urbaz again. He's got 15 Thunderers in an Ironclad doing the drop and shoot, the scoot and boot is what he's doing, which is very cool. KO are in a great place. Battle tactics super easy for them in the first 2 turns. To quote Phil in the chat earlier, he reckons you can do 5 battle tactics with KO without ever having to engage with your opponent, which is pretty nice, to be honest. So shout out to Alistair. Great work. Reese Fraser with his Sylvaneth list. I love this list. This list is absolutely great. This feels like a painter's dream. Alariel, Warsong Revenant with Merciless Blizzard and Spellsinger. Spirited Durthu, so just 3 really big characters in there as well. Like 1,480 points, 70 points of characters. 3 units of Tree Revenants as battle line, and then the Spite Swarm Hive, the Malevolent Maelstrom, and Skaith's Wild Hunt as well. I mean, Alariel is just really, really good, just massive damage, and Durthu as well. And the fact that you can retreat them, heal them while you're doing damage with Warsong Revs, it's very fragile, and he must have played a blinder to do so well, so excellent work there. Then Lewis Watson with his Ironjaw's Bloodtooth list. Great to see these guys. These guys still do loads of damage. Mega Boss and Maw-Crusher, 2 War Chanters, a Weird Knob Shaman, and then he has 2 units of 6 Grunters and 2 units of 3 Grunters with 2 units of Ard Boys doing all of the fighting. So Ard Boys just for holding objectives, right? But the Gore Grunters just going to go forward and smash, and then the Mega Boss and Maw-Crusher going to smash. What's really nice is you don't have to actually send it all. For example, if you put the 2 units of 5 Ard Boys at the front, then you could kind of survive, like, you know, people charging at you. They're screen enough. But what you do is you just drop them on an objective, so your opponent has to get them off the objective. And then when they do, then they've broken their army apart, and then you just hit them with a 3 Gore Grunters, another 3 Gore Grunters, the whole time threatening that you're going to put a Maw-Crusher right at the back of the field. So they have to kind of play expecting your very mobile army to run around. You don't have to fully send it. You can just trade into your bigger application of units and then just like make their army break apart because they have to move on to objectives, right? Which is pretty good. Also, you get a free battle tactic now for playing them, so it's super easy. But well done to Lewis. Great work. And then Stu West with his Stormcast Eternals list, Celestial Vindicators, which is nice to see Stormcast in here as well. He's got a Knight Incanter, a Lord Arcanum on Taurolon, and a Battle Mage. And then he's got 3 units of 5 Liberators, 4 Dracothian Guard Fulminators, 2 Dracothian Guard Fulminators, and an Incarnate of Gur, which is cool. So the Incarnate for pinning units in, the Dracothian Guard Fulminators, which still do some of the most damage in the game, for lifting units in there as well. The Lord Arcanum on Taurolon is an amazing little pick in here as well. So congratulations. And then finally, Raffle Colburn with Seraphon Kotal's Claw. It's super worth talking about. This is definitely the pick that will survive any Battle Scroll updates. So Croak, Starseer, Nashroth, Bannerbearer, then 2x6 Lancers, 20 Saurus Warriors, 5 Saurus Guard, and the Suffocating Gravetide. So 60 wounds in Agrodon Lancers. Don't forget, this whole army is basically -1 damage down to a minimum of 1, which is so powerful. Lord Croak for doing all of the mortal wound spells. Just really, really good, and very, very survivable. Those 20 Saurus Warriors is 40 wounds, which is just reducing your damage down by 1. They've got a good armor save, just very, very effective in my personal opinion. So great. I hope everyone in Scotland had a great time at their event. If you ever get a chance to go up there, you should. Our next event is over in Canada. Capital City Bloodbath, one of my favourite events of the year. Wasn't able to make it this year. Pretty gutted about 38 players playing at Capital City Bloodbath, which is pretty cool. We do have a 5-0. That's Yuri. Huge fan of Yuri. He's great. Bulldog Warhammer, if you get a chance to go and check out their YouTube channel. But he unfortunately was playing Bone Reapers. And at this stage, I've read Bone Reapers out so much, I don't care. So shout out to Bone Reapers. It's Null Myraid, and it's all the stuff you normally see. Etienne Tremblay-Grand from Quebec was running Sylvaneth. He probably wasn't from Sylvaneth, but he's got an amazing list. Honestly, amazing. He's got Oakenbrow, so Tree Lord's Battle Line. He's got Spirit of Durthu, Tree Lord Ancient, Warsong Rev. I love this list. And then he's got the Lady of Vines. Lady of Vines came down crazy points. And her War Scroll spell is amazingly good. It's a 5-up ward save for everyone around her. Now, she used to be quite expensive, but she also generates a free unit of Dryad, but she didn't get any pluses to really cast that spell. Since, obviously, the introduction of Primal Dice, you can do that now, and you can add loads of pluses to cast. So 5-up ward on the 3 Tree Lords that you've got in this list, or Durthu, or the Tree Lord Ancient, or the Warsong Rev, is so good. Such a good pick. Absolutely love this. So this is a great list. And well done on getting the 4-1, which is super cool. Then Peter Longari with his Soulblight Gravelords, Legion and Knight, Vampire Lord, Manfred, some zombies, 30 skeletons, and then 2 units of 20 Graveguard. It's quite fun. A lot of people pivot into the 220s of Graveguard just for those massive punch units, so they can just take units off the board. They're just so good, especially if you were to get something like Hoarfrost off on them as well. And then finally, now I don't normally do 3 a draw and 1, but coming up short is Carl Ong. He was running Sylvaneth as well in Harvest Boom. He's running a Tree Lord Ancient, a Branch Witch, and some Revenant Seekers and some Tree Revs. But I absolutely love Carl standing it with the other Short Kings and taking Gotrek in his list. Just brilliant. It's nice to see that he sees the representation for himself in his list on the table. So it means a lot for me to see him mean a lot to him, so that's great. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great time at Capital City Bloodbath. There's some great people there, and I'd love to go back. Our last event is the Emerald City Open 3, organised by Matthew Kangizer, or Kangizer. Shout out to him. We had 30 players playing at this event, and Alexander Gonzalez in the top spot in a 5-0 with not OCR Bone Reapers. Don't worry, it's Blades of Corn, Reapers of Vengeance. And he's got, again, a slightly different list, which is fun. He's got a Bloodmaster, a Bloodsecrator, a Herald of Corn on Blood Throne, a Roan Gore Ritualist, a Slaughter Priest, and a Bloodthirster and a Fetid Fury, with Firebrand and Argath, the King of Blades, which is very common. And then that means he's a priest, and then no ward saves in range. Then he's got, I think he's got 10 Blood Warriors, Claws of Karnax, and Fleshhounds, but the big unit in this army is a unit of 20 Bloodletters. And then he has the Wrathmongers. So the Bloodletters are getting healed a lot as well. Turning off wards, so then they do all a ton of damage, is also really interesting. He's got loads of prayers he can cast, and he's got the Skulls, the Wrath Axe, and the Bleeding Icon. Skulls are great. They've got a lot of board presence. Rathax is going to do a ton of damage over a double turn, and even the Bleeding Icon can see some real play. So he's really committed to the bit on the characters and the icons, well, the invocation, sorry, and then he's got one big unit of Bloodletters to smash some people up, which is super cool. And well done to him, because this event does have a couple of Null Myriad Bone Reaper armies that went 2-3, so they got slapped up. So that's fun, so congratulations to him. In the 4-1 bracket, we've got Matthias Crucial. Now, Matthias was running like a mixture of Khorne heroes, as always, but the big thing, he had a massive unit of 30 Bloodletters. And it's interesting, we're kind of talking about, as we get towards the end of the show, how we might be trying to beat OBR, and it does feel like just an insane amount of melee combat might do the trick. And 30 Bloodletters, when you turn off ward saves, are going to do a ton of damage. So shout out to Matthias, that's a great little list. Matt Beasley is doing the Tzeentch Guild of Summoners list that we saw so well in last GHB, doing really well in this GHB, but he's added the Incarnate in, and obviously with Rupture, it's exactly what I said about earlier. You're casting loads of spells, you have an Incarnate that's level 3 that you can cut yourself, and then you're also summoning loads of Lords of Change, which is just really good. Then we had Carson Whitlock running Ogre Mawtribe. This is my hot pick for maybe trying to take out OBR. A Firebelly, a Frostlord and Stonehorn, a Slaughtermaster, and then he's got a unit of 6 Gluttons, then he's got 4 Iron Guts, then 6 Gluttons, and an Iron Blaster. A unit of Noblars as well. Don't forget, this is all in Meat Fist, so it's adding extra damage or extra mortal wounds. Well, no, it's not adding extra. You're rolling lower to do your mortal wounds when you do your ogre charges, so you're doing a ton of damage as well, which I think is just, you know, crazy. And that might be a really good way of trying to take out like those bigger mortis blocks that you're trying to fight against. And then we got John Zoshak with his OCR Bone Reaper list. I want to shout him out as well, because he's running Null Myriad Bone Reapers with pretty much what you expect to see. But he wrote all of his notes on his list, so loads of love to you. Loads of love to everyone at this event, because it looks like it was a wicked event. There's some really nice people there, so hope you had a nice time. Also, yeah, hope you had a lovely... Our last event, actually, this is the last event, is from New Zealand. It's in New Zealand. It's the Notorious GT3. Love those guys. Organised by Sean Bates and being held here in Wellington at the Petone Club. If you want to go check it out, if anyone is in New Zealand, there's the Notorious guys have a podcast. I'm sure you'll find some people to play if you're over there, or if you're travelling. Now, in our 5-0 bracket, we have Ryan Lynn Watts with his Soulblight Gravelords, Legion and Knight. He's got a really nice, diverse list. He's got Manfred von Karstein, 2 Vampire Lords, he's got 30 Death Rattle Skeletons, 10 Direwolves, 3 Fellbats, 2 units of 5 Black Knights, and 20 Graveguard, and an Immortis engine with the Geminids of Ulgish, which is pretty fun. So he's got the kind of classic front line that he can put out there in the Skeletons or the Black Knights. The Black Knights are legit as well. He's got Manfred, who's going to be able to teleport around and do a load of damage, and then he's got the classic kind of Graveguard coming in and doing all the chopping. But the Mortis engine is going to be at the back, just doing quite a lot of AoE mortal wound damage. He hasn't overcommitted to having multiple Mortis engines, but instead he's got one which will just keep doing constant kind of... Imagine it's like a very small croak. Quite annoying to get rid of as well, and doing a load of damage, which is really fun to see. So that's a cool list. Thanks, Ryan, for showing it us. In the 4-1 bracket, you got Alexander Sinclair, Daughters of Cain Hagnar. This is great. This is Marathi, an Incarnate, and 15 Fighty Snakes going out there. Honestly, Daughters of Cain have to be one of the armies that can most easily just get 5 battle tactics and a grand strat without ever engaging with the enemy. Which I think is, again, why we're going to see them more on the tabletops in the future. Jimmy Page running Disciples of Tzeentch Guild of Summoners. He's got a big brick of Zangor in there, which I think is really fun as well, but it is Guild of Summoners, and he's got an Incarnate, so he's going to be summoning Lords of Change, and he's got a big Incarnate that he's going to Rupture and throw up the board. Then you've got Dan Hughes and Jess Lee, both with OCR Bone Reapers, Null Myriad, with Immortis Guard in there as well. So that is the end of the stat show today. And yeah, okay, let's just be really upfront. OCR Bone Reapers seem like they're silly. More and more people are playing them. I think their meta representation is up. We will have the actual stats from the TSN later this week. I'm not exactly sure when, but they are just dominating the field, and they are very highly represented, and they are also just have a massive win rate. Now, to be fair to the OCR Bone Reapers players and also fans, we have to remember that they took away the crawler, so the shooting catapult, and they just made it useless. And then they did have a different build that you could do where you had obviously Mortek Guard and you had the Mortek Harvester, but they also FAQ'd that into the ground as well, which I think is a real big problem. So that's a little bit disappointing. Also, just flying under the radar, Khorne, crazy good at the minute, doing really well. Also, Soulblight Gravelords as well, just doing very good. These are all combat armies. But I think the real conversation, if you can just step outside of the Osat Bone Reapers conversation for a moment, is that we're still seeing that kind of like incarnate list being played with people rupturing it and sending it off. And also there are armies like KO and Daughters of Cain who we might see come to relevance more over this GHB just because their battle tactics are so easy and being able to put those on the board. Sylvaneth also featured this week, which has been really nice. Loads of different kind of Sylvaneth lists, which I've really enjoyed, and I think that's been really good as well. But yes, I think the conversation amongst a lot of people right now will be about the Battle Scroll update needing to update OBR because it is beyond a problem. There was some fun Seraphon builds. I like seeing that as well, especially moving into Coalesced. It's really fun, and I do think that they're very good builds. That +/-1 damage is going to be really difficult to deal with as well. So yeah, just absolutely brilliant. So thanks everyone to the chat for being with me as we go through the stats every Monday. Go through all those event results. It is a little bit disheartening for someone like me who likes to read these fun and engaging lists that happen over the weekend and just to consistently keep reading the same army build all the time. I'm sure the players don't want that to be consistent either, so it'll be nice to see that mix up in the future. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Let me know what your thoughts are obviously in the comments below, and thanks to everyone on the Wargamer Patreon for helping support the show. Loads of love.